Alright guys, today we'll watch this video by BiteMe Games. So definitely go and check out his channel.
You want to get started with game development. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm just kidding, of course. It's not that bad. But I do want to talk a bit more about what are some things you need to know going into this. And do you really want to do this? Because don't get me wrong, game dev can be fun at times, but my god, it can also be depressing at times where, you feel like you're not making
The things that I think many people don't know about game dev, first it takes a lot of time. It will take a lot of your days. It will take a lot of your free time. It needs commitment, discipline. You cannot really make a video game if you did not spend years and in one. Some people even spend 5 to 7 years in developing of one project. So you need to know it takes time. It takes from your free time, and it's hard to do. Usually it's one of the hardest industries ever, especially solo game dev, because usually when we are talking about people who want to be game developers, they think all game developers are solo devs. It's little to my knowledge, people that just want to be in the industry. Most of people want to be a solo dev when they are saying I want to be a game developer, and solo dev is just being a duplicate of multiple employees at the same time doing a job. So it's very, very hard to do.
any progress. And I think there are some things that you should keep in mind before you condemn yourself to this hellish landscape. Okay, I'm really going too dramatic. I promise it's not that bad. But I get the question often of, hey Marnix, I'm getting started with game development. What do you suggest to me? What should I do and all of that? Do you have any advice for me that's more high level? Not just, make horror games or whatever. What can you tell me? And I think the first thing that I really want you to understand when getting started
First thing, if you want to start game development, is not learn the tools, which is very wrong, is to understand the principles and how the production really works. See, this what many people waste time in. I want to learn game dev. I'm gonna install Unity and start watching a tutorial. That's completely wrong. You need to understand how the production really goes. You need to go and see how companies work. Go and see what problems they face. Play video game. You need to understand video games to actually design one. You need to study what makes video games fun. So you study critiques that critique video games. Understand the community needs for this industry. Be in the industry. Watch how companies work, how they do their marketing, how they're doing their games, how they publish the ideas, what kind of people they are hiring in credits, what things that you will need, especially if it's a game that you want to make. And then after that, you should plan your pre-production. If you want to learn in general, you can just go then and do the technical stuff, learn the tools. If you want to do 2D and 3D at the same time, you use Unity. If you want 3D, you go use Unreal. If you want something very open source, yet you will face many problems and not the best option ever, it's because it's new, you will need Godot, especially if you want a very light framework for your, or a very light tool for your projects. Godot is amazing, is very light. Well, yeah, so you're gonna choose one of these tools, choose your programming languages, choose your 3D pipeline if you are working in a 3D game, or 2D pipeline integration for the engine, and then learn the technical stuff. But before working on your commercial project, before even launching Unity, you need to do your pre-production plan, game design document, and stuff like that. Character designs if you have characters and stuff, writing the story and direction, visual direction. Then go to Unity and start programming the game.
game development is understanding, why am I doing this? Are you getting into game development because you grew up playing video games your whole life and now you kind of just want to pick it as a hobby because you saw that, hey, Godot has been doing some cool stuff, or Unreal or whatever, and you found some Unity tutorials and whatever, and you're like, okay, I want to make my own games now because it's going to be fun? Or do you want to get into game dev because you saw videos from blokes like me and some other YouTubers where they showcase how they've been making a lot of money sometimes from game development, and you're like, hey, actually, I'm already a programmer, maybe I can just big games instead of making boring business applications? Wouldn't that be the move? I think being honest with this is going to be really important, because I will not judge you if you're like, hey, yeah, I'm kind
It
of...
doesn't really matter. I think that you will realize after being in game development for a very long time is that the purpose you started with to start game development is not gonna be the thing that matter to you when you start game dev for a long time. You will just enjoy the process that takes you to that target. So usually you're not very gonna care about the purpose that usually is very not the best purpose ever. Like if you I want money, then you will gonna like video game industry very much because it's a creative industry. The thing goes for most creative industries like cinematography and other stuff. You're gonna like game development so much that you will just need the money to survive to make other video games, and you're not gonna even care for the money. This is the thing with creative industries usually.
just in here for the money, but I think you do need to be honest and not pretend, if that's the case, that you're doing this for your own passion and all of it, because those things don't always match really well. Like the thought of, okay, I'm going to focus on just doing games as a hobby and I'm going to have more of a relaxed casual style, versus, okay, I'm going into this and I'm going to, my first game is going to be like Stardew Valley, and then I'm going to retire my family and I'm going to live in Bali and sip cocktails all day. Both are valid approaches, and there's a lot of other approaches in between those as well. Like it's not just that you can only make games as a hobby or as a soulless grifter, like pushing out slop to the masses every day.
Yeah, by the way, just a thing for a reality check. Probably your first three games, gonna not succeed. Maybe even your 10th game gonna success. Like we see many people, like they did Hollow Knight and they got a lot of money. They did a lot of games before Hollow Knight and all of them failed. So you're gonna need a lot of time till you hit that very amazing target. Even people that spend tens and tens of years in the development don't get that thing that retire them entirely. So yeah.
There's a lot of points in between. Maybe you want to try the publisher out. Maybe you want to do so much, but I think you should be honest to begin with yourself. What are you actually planning on doing? And keep that in mind throughout your entire development cycle. If you are like, hey, I want to do this for a hobby, then yeah, it doesn't really matter as much that you want to make an RPG game, for example. But if you're like, hey, yeah, I'm going into this purely for the money, then you probably don't want to make just puzzle games and whatever.
If you're purely in the money, you're not gonna like this. Again, as someone that worked as an entrepreneur in the past, game development is not the best entrepreneurship business ever. Like if I wanted to plan what are the hardest industries in entrepreneurship, there are restaurants, hotels business, anything that goes in the refrigerators business, the things that go in the refrigerators of the markets, game development, then cinematography, things related to space. These are one of the hardest entrepreneurship things to do. There are way easier things than starting in game development. So if were purely on money going to game dev, it's a very legitimately bad place to go. Like look at the stats of the bigger developers here. Most of people are just on game developers are not sleeping where they're doing video games just because they like it. It's not gonna generate tons of money as things that are related to taxes, architecture. There's multiple stuff that really generates way more money than video game industry. So if you were here just for money, believe me, as either as an entrepreneurship or just someone that want to be hired, you're gonna beat top so bad in this industry. People just do it because they like it. By the way, it's not like generates and make people very rich. Very few people that got rich from this industry compared to other industries.
Guess those are just genres that don't really work. You need to be more analytical, and you need to really look at, okay, what are the things that are going to work for my approach to game development?
And you're not going to succeed in it if you just want it for money, because again, it's a creative industry. It needs passion. with, and I know it's not like something magical, but it's passion is something magical that's gonna make you succeed. It's just like without passion your game gonna be dull because of different variables that goes in story writing, narrative design, and not fixing the game to be legitimately enjoyable to play rather than just a dollar project that you want to release to generate money. So there's different multiple variables that I cannot discuss now in a video that if you go purely on just money, you're gonna like regret it in game development and multiple creative industries.
So just be honest with yourself, I think, is the first thing. What are your expectations going into game development? Because you want to be able to look back in a year from now when you're getting started and be like, okay, yeah, actually, I think I did hit those expectations. This is what I expected it was going to be, whether that be for fun or for money or for anything else, really. And then we get this as something, we've talked about enough, other game dev YouTubers have talked about enough, so I'll go over it quickly. Don't start with your dream game, please. You don't have the skills to make your dream game, most likely. You don't have like the dope sheet.
You can't start with it. It's gonna fail, man. Then you're gonna start with a small project and then return to it and remake it. Well, if you don't believe people that say that, go ahead and do it. Probably it's gonna, most of people gonna say MMORPG and mix of two games that you cannot really be mixing game design principles. They mix it and try very hard to make it. They're gonna fail. They go do small projects, then they get back to their game. Maybe even the idea of the first game they started with is now changeable because they learned a lot in game design principles. Because the problem that many people don't understand, it's not just technically hard and needs a lot of budget and time. It's because your dream game properly designed so poorly it cannot be produced. So that's something many people don't realize about it, because you understand fully nothing, you know nothing about how production goes, so you just go and write stuff out of your ass. So when you do the production, you understand how things take much time and what things you should focus on, and according to the complexity of the games and projects you did before your dream game, you can make a better plan and game design for your dream game to be actually achievable.
Failures of things you've learned yourself the hard way with game development, you probably won't be able to make your dream game. Or if you can make your dream game, it's not going to be what you actually envisioned. Or if you really are able to make your dream game and it's the first game that you've ever developed, I think you need to dream bigger, my dudes. Like, dream games generally are things that you look at 10 years down the line. Going into this and being like, okay, I'm going to make my dream game immediately is kind of like being a couch potato. And it's like, oh, my New Year's resolution is that I'm going to become a professional pole vaulter. And it's like, wait, hold on, you're nowhere, you can barely even run 5K. Where are you going to get the stamina and the like strength and explosion and things like that to actually become a professional pole vaulter, for example? I know this is a weird analogy, but it's kind of the same. Like, you need to do so many steps in between that you genuinely shouldn't try for your dream game right now. Like, you can, there's a whole lot of schools of thought and things like that, but you can think, okay, I want to make my dream game is going to be an RPG in this setting with these mechanics. Can you take like a single mechanic and just make a game about that already, for example, and build your way up that way? It's going to be much more important. Your dream game is generally not something that you can do solo either, because you're gonna want artists, you're gonna want programmers, you're gonna
because you cannot understand the complexity of it without you trying to do the production of one simple thing. Like, you see this, oh, it's just moving the camera with the weapon off. You do not know how many codes go just to move the camera aligned with the with the gun, the procedural animation integration, the weapon sway, and even the simplest details that goes into this gonna make the production a hell for you. So you cannot do it until you do it. So you do something that you wanna fail at it, you're not gonna like it. Like, do some casual, very simple games just to understand how the production works, to write a plan that makes your dream game achievable. Because right now, even if you did it, by the way, most probably because of your bad game design document and bad design principles, the game gonna suck. People not gonna want to even play your video game, so don't do that.
scope.
Only if you want just to try to fail. It's okay. You can do that. It's your time. You can waste it as much as you want.
All of that. All of these things right now shouldn't be something that you worry about. I think this also leads into another piece of advice that I have for you, and that is what you often hear with those stream games when people come to me. It's like, yeah, I have this 50-page game design document of my game, and it has so much story, and I have like all these characters and things like that, and I'm going to make it. And how do you think my game design document is? I'm gonna spend 2 years development on it. I'm gonna have a first demo available in 4 months or something. My thing here is, don't overplan. Just iterate. I've talked a bunch about...
I disagree. Overplan it. Overplan it because most people don't overplan it. So most people perception of overplanning, 50 pages for a game design document. This is if you write a story, a real story, not just the fuck thing that most solo game developers do. Is like, he designed the game then add a lore to it, which is just fuckable. Like, what the fuck is even that? You cannot make a game unless you make a story at the beginning. Only a very little amount of games are not dependent on stories. Most of if you saw a developer before, he designed the fucking game, and then in episode 56, oh guys, we're gonna add lore in the fucking game. What are we even talking about here? Even simplest games like Mario have story in it. Even if it's simple, even if it's fantasy, it's okay. So 50 pages just for story and character designs, this is bullshit. Some stories, simple stories, takes over 200 pages. Are we even understanding how much big stories even take? Go and check out George R. Martin. The Game of Thrones series have, of course, like a novel, which is consisting of multiple books, like Song of Ice and Fire, House of the Dragons, and stuff like that. So go read the books. There are like multiple fucking books, big books. It's like something like that. And there, by the way, he is planning to publish 2 more, and people are saying it's not even enough to finish the story. So 50 pages for story, character design, game design document. This is something it's like giving the tagline of the story, giving some of the very important events happening in the story. Probably you're gonna have 200 pages of story, containing characters, NPCs, dialogues, and stuff like that. Then you're gonna have maybe 16, 25, even 35 character sheets, which are sketches before production. You're gonna have the game design document and game design of the game loop and the principles. This is a big production, by the way. We're not talking about a very simple loopable video game that people do for a game jam. We're talking about big commercial video game industry. So you're gonna have at least this. Then maybe like go take advice from people, check it out, make some vertical slice for most of the core mechanics in the video game, then start the production phase. You cannot just start before doing this in commercial video games. The game gonna suck.
Like working on smaller games on this channel. That's kind of the design philosophy that I have in general. But keep in mind, the reason for that is that at the end of the day, we want to sustain the studio. This is why you have to be honest with yourself. Like, what is the goal? If your goal is just like, do it for fun as a hobby, you don't need to follow the small games method. You can spend more time, do more casual development on whatever game you want to make.
For studios that want to start, for goddamn, start with 2D games. Don't start making 3D games. It's gonna suck. Your game gonna suck. 3D games are way harder and take a lot of more budget and production time than 2D games. So do 2D games, do a lot of 2D games, do a lot of platformers, puzzle platformers, maybe Metroidvania, then do a 3D game. 3D game takes a ton shit of time. Like, look at Thomas Brush. He did 2 2D titles, then a 3D title. Which he's been experimenting for a very long time. So you're gonna need, before like actually making the Twisted Tower thing, he did like multiple 3D video games that he did not even publish, and then started in the Twisted Tower. So because 2D video game development is way easier than 3D, by the way, it's way easier. So just go do the 2D video commercial games, and when you have a fan base and some budgets, you need a budget for a 3D game, go do the 3D game. You cannot. So this is my advice. It's not about making small games. It's about making games that don't acquire 200,000 K budgets and a fucking 16 members of team just to make a 3D game. So you just go do something simple. If you want to make a 3D game after these 2D games, I would highly suggest a very narrative driven game, like either a linear horror game or a very narrative driven game which does not contain a very complex design of core gameplay mechanics. This is all what I would suggest.
For example, in our case, we want to make smaller games because that means that we have a quicker turnaround time, we can learn faster. What this also means is that we can just iterate faster on game design, game mechanics, and whatever. I've met people who have literally spent 2 to 3 months just writing out how they think that their game is going to feel, like how their mechanics are going to be.
Yeah, but this is a very normal time for writing this, and this is prior to testing. This is before testing, like before even the prototype is done. Then the prototype is done, then they iterate even more on their pipeline of how the game gonna feel, and then after the pre-production, the production, the real work gonna start, and it's gonna be a lot of months because it's something important more than just making the code or the art. It's the actual thing that players wanna play the game depending on it.
And they have never even opened an engine. And it's just weird to me that you can be certain that your game is going to be a massive hit and the game design is really good and the game loop is really fine if you've never even prototyped it.
Yeah, it's okay. The producer in cinematography sometimes do not understand what the fuck, or the project manager don't understand how the fuck would you make a 3D model. But he know all these steps that gonna go into the production, so he can just know if something fucked up and where did it fuck up.
And to a certain degree, like, you have different schools of thought, of course, that are like, yeah, game design documents, you need to have something. I think you always need to have some point to write down your ideas, but I don't think it needs to be like 50 pages long where you do in-depth breakdowns of every mechanic, every ability and things like that, because genuinely, you don't know what's good yet. And that's fine, but
This is for super beginners. This is for the one that's just opened fucking Unity and want to do like Flappy Bird or stuff like that. After that, if you are working on a big project, in your mind, you want it as a commercial game, this advice would not work for you. It would kill you. It would kill your video game.
Thinking and planning and being like, oh, let me ask ChatGPT what they think is a good game mechanic, because ChatGPT knows everything, right? You could also just ask ChatGPT to write a prototype for you almost in Unity in like the same time, and you would actually have tangible proof of, hey, this game idea, it's good, it's bad.
Don't. Just don't use AI for video game design. People, very smart people are working on very big companies to make just one video game, and people don't like it usually. Believe me, even if ChatGPT was the smartest, by the way, it's usually not the best to be used in expertise matters, but even if he was the smartest in game design principles, a collective group of smart people that design a game, like 10 ChatGPT at the same time, working on something their entire life, and they publish it with the best graphics, best animations, best everything, and you got a fucking video game, AAA video game, and you publish it, and people not gonna like it too. Happened a lot of time for very big companies that made a lot of very great video games. You cannot be certain. It's not like it's an amazing tool. So just don't use AI for your video game, especially at the beginning. Don't use it at the beginning. I would advise, my best advice, the best use for AI, generative AI, LLMs, for video game industry, in my opinion, and you can use that in prototypes only, not in a full production. You have a code, you overwritten the code, like you have multiple functionalities that you connected to variables that you want to remove, and you're just lazy to remove it, and you give it to the AI to remove the functionalities that you don't want, or to add comments, because many people forget to add comments. But this is just for prototyping. When you go for production, don't use anything AI, because you need to disclose it in Steam.
Completely useless, and work based on that. At the end of the day, if you're a game developer, most of your work should be done in engine. It shouldn't be done in Word or in Notion or whatever, because you can't sell a Notion page on Steam at the end of the day. I think this leads to a bigger point.
Yeah,
as
but
well.
publishers gonna need from you docs.
where it's not just planning. You can like research as much as you want, but you're going to have to do the work at some point, especially when, you know, when you get started with game development. That first month, it's like, yes, this is awesome. And I watched like a whole bunch of tutorials and things like that. And you start with making your prototypes, with making your game and things like that. And then you're okay. I feel like my game design is not ideal. Like the thing you had in your original game design document, you put in a prototype, but you're not fully sold on it. I'm going to do research, meaning I'm going to play similar games, or I'm going to watch videos of like game design studies.
Yeah, brainstorm as much as you can. I know many people gonna call you lazy. Watch a full fucking anime, 300 episode anime, and go play 3 video games related to the subject that you're gonna make your video game in. People gonna call you lazy, stupid, but it's gonna brainstorm you with fucking tons of ideas that actually make your game fun. It's not just about making a video game technically, it's about making a fucking video game fun. That's what people are missing nowadays, and we got just a replicate of the same video game everywhere in Steam that we just don't want to play. We want something really fun. So go brainstorm, please.
These GMTK, RaceFig, whatever, about what makes these games so great. And the problem is at a certain point, like your research is kind of useless. It's like kind of tutorial hell, but in this case, it's not researching how do I make something. It's researching good game design. This goes back to, iteration. You can say that, oh yeah, I played 10 hours of Dome Keeper or whatever for research, whereas most of the research you can do will actually be from either reading Steam comments of your competing games and playing like a first half hour plus of a game. Not more.
Yeah, see, but you can play fucking 3 video games similar to your genre and watch a fucking full series related to your narrative design and then go make your video game. And believe me, you're gonna see a bigger difference with you when you start writing ideas for your before even starting pre-production. And when you're starting pre-production and starting writing out ideas, and oh yeah, I got multiple different ideas on how to do this, because now you have references. You cannot make something out of your ass and put it in the video game. Gonna suck, because probably from a different genre and a different production and a different thing, and it's gonna be stupid. So that's the importance of research and pre-planning. Never estimate it.
Yes, by that first hour, normally the core game mechanics should all be explained and everything like that. And I know this sucks to hear. It's like, oh yeah, but I want to play my games, because you probably got into game development.
It's not play your games, play games that related to the game that you're gonna make.
Playing games to
like
it.
Try making a simulator game and you never made it played a simulator game. You're never gonna be able to do it, by the way, because you've never played a fucking simulator game. And if you play just one, try to recreate it, it's gonna be just a recreation of that amazing game, but with fucking less potential.
But playing games is not going to give you a great game. Once again, it's making the game, it's spending time in the engine, and it's a very quick escape. It's gonna be like, I don't want to develop on my game, whatever, and it's like, I'm just gonna do some research, and then suddenly 4 hours have passed, because supposedly Stellaris is research.
Again, it's okay. 4 hours is nothing. You're gonna spend 2 years developing your fucking video game. Researching and brainstorming for 2 months is nothing. You need to have ideas. Don't just recreate games. No one wants to play a recreated game that is just more bullshit than the first game. Just go and mix out ideas from different brainstorming, and that's what's gonna make your game actually have something unique, especially if you are just early and you do not understand anything about game design principles, know nothing about art direction. You're not gonna be able to do such complex stuff without brainstorming and researchers, because even specialists and experts research their entire life for this.
You shouldn't be making 4X games, by the way. Keep that in mind as well. I think you just need to have some discipline as well to actually doing game dev. There's going to be a lot of parts of game dev that aren't going to be as fun, as engaging. You're going to realize that, hey, writing code kind of sucks, or making this game look good actually isn't as easy as just applying a LUT and a shader and I'm good to go. And at those points, you don't need to get yourself distracted, because you'll probably also get like shiny object syndrome, because you'll play one of your games for research and you're like, but what if I completely change my game and I focus on making this mechanic instead? Just stick to what you're doing and try to see it to completion as well. Seeing things to completion is going to be one of your biggest struggles most likely as a game developer as well. And then as part of this iteration thing, I guess as well, is the fact that, okay, you do not want to do everything yourself. You can do prototyping, like I said, like, oh, you should do prototyping. Don't do it, for the love of God, with gray boxes and like, just the default Unity bean. I know it's like funny for like devlogs and whatever, but really you're not selling Unity beans on the Steam marketplace. You probably want to use some sort of asset. And I think that is a big thing. Most of our audience, you're solo developers.
No one wants to play a game with gray boxes, so your game no one are gonna play it. If you want to make a video game that actually people play it, make some fucking art, make some fucking narrative design. People forget to make these two things good, which actually make their game unplayable.
Lean into making something.
Special narrative design. Again, don't do the thing that devloggers do, like episode fucking 100. Oh guys, they're gonna add lore to the fucking game. Fucking finally. That's what should be before you make the fucking game at the first place. So don't do that. It's a big no-no. Believe me, your game gonna suck. It's gonna have a lot of loopholes in the story, and it's gonna affect the gameplay or make the story shitty so much.
Decent visuals from day one, basically, and also has some of the gameplay mechanics already, versus just focusing on like, oh, I make these cubes move around and I have no final vision of what the game is going to be like. I've seen like people who are like, okay, I'm gonna be making a magical city builder or whatever. And then their first prototypes is literally just placing down gray cubes on like a default ground plane. And it's like, yeah, none of your magic is really being shown here. All I'm doing is placing down buildings. There are so many asset packs. At the end of the day, it's not really that hard to throw in some animations or whatever, or some basic feel, and making your game feel good at the same time to realize that, okay, this game is going to...
I do agree on that, but you're all gonna see the difference when you add it. It's like the difference of day and night. It's completely different, because it's not just... At this point, don't run the game on the game. Run it on a console with a fucking 100 debugs. Because if you want to run it on a game engine, on the game view, you need colors, you need animations, because visual implementation, by the way, if you did not visual implement stuff in the code as early as development, it's gonna suck. You're gonna need to redesign your entire code and re-optimize your entire codes if you did not add visual integration at the start.
Potential. Use assets as much as you can. Like, I know it can be like, oh, I want to make everything myself.
Use assets and then remove them and replace them with your own art. And just buy them with $60 or something like that.
I want to do the code.
And there's assets that are tools. Like, many people use Audio Inspector. Like, it's just a tool. It's an extension for the engine that usually the engine buys, like, by the way, just like Cinema Machine, for example.
And I want to learn 3D modeling, and I want to learn audio, and I want to learn 2D art, and you want to learn so many more things, game design, whatever. It's going to take way longer than you think, and you're probably going to be spending way too long on your game. You'll give up somewhere along the way, and you won't see it to completion. So really spend some money on getting some assets, some visuals. You even have free assets and things like that if you really want to. It's going to be worth it. Trust me, if you want to share your game with anyone and not be ashamed of how the game looks. Because if you're going to show your 2 cubes to someone else, no matter how good the game feel is, it's still going to be like, I don't know how this feels, honestly. It's still going to be too hard for them to envision it as an actual game and a setting and all of that. So immediately from day one, try and stick a bit to that as well. And then this final piece of advice that I have, especially for people who are beginning, and it's kind of also something that's you often hear on Reddit of like, oh, why are there no game dev YouTubers that have good advice that are like, oh, sharing how you should actually make games? It's all like, oh, failure and I lost this.
Yeah, because most of the YouTubers are not really experts. They are experts at making media. They are not really experts at making video games. That's why they give you shitty advice.
Whatever. I think you need to realize that instead of trying to go for perfect, let's try for just not making the most miserable mistakes possible. Because this is something I see a lot of people fall into, where they're like, I'm gonna make perfect game design because I only watch like game design YouTubers or whatever, and I don't want to watch the failures and whatever. And then they end up making the exact same mistakes that we did because they felt too good to look at what the mistakes other people were making. Instead of trying to go for perfect for your first game, let's try just not doing the overly obvious failures and like not launching with a
Try making it playable. It's your first game? Perfect? What the fuck are you talking about? Ubisoft and Activision been trying to make a perfect game they were near, and now they are in the fucking ground, not even being able to be a mid game. So what are you talking about? Try making it playable. That's the standard right now, even with AAA companies. Believe me, you're not gonna make it perfect. Playable is way more enough for you for your first game.
Discount, launching in the middle of a Steam sale, not doing any marketing, not getting any playtesting, not like there's so many things that you can probably avoid by looking at all of those failure devlogs and things like that. I think you need to be humble enough to understand that you're not going to be the next Stardew Valley. You're not going to be a perfect game designer on your first game. Most of the games that you think are like, oh, first releases are from developers who've released tens of games before. And I think you
they just don't want to show their mistakes. Why want people share their failure? And even if they did, people don't love listening to failure stories. They just love listening to the success stories, only for the people that they hate. But the thing is, make your first game at least playable and accessible, not a perfect video game.
just need to.
If you did it like playable and accessible, that's a very amazing thing that you did, by the way.
Check yourself and realize that, hey, I'm not gonna be the next Mozart. I'm not going to be the next Olympic pole vaulter, if you want to go back to earlier. But instead, I'm going to have to take these things step by step, and let's just try not to fall over to begin with. Let's not worry even about hitting the pole in like optimal arch form for our pole vaulting metaphor. Let's just make sure I can even reach from the start to the actual like pole vault area. Let's start with that. Let's make sure I don't trip over my shoelaces. And then once you're able to comfortably reach that point, then you can start looking at the more advanced topics. That's a bit of my advice. I hope these things make sense. If you're new here, we're game developers, like you may have guessed, and we make our own games. We make a bunch of mistakes along the way. We do some good things as well. Don't worry about that. And we talk about all of it in depth on this YouTube channel. If that is something that you're interested in, you want to know more about it, go ahead down below and subscribe. We upload it.
And again, it's a very amazing video by BiteMe Games. Definitely go and check out his channel. Give us your opinion in the comments. I try to respond to every comment that comes to my attention. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode.